good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gameweek 5 pod of the FPL Wire, powered by DreamSetGo. I'm your host, Zofa, and I'm joined by my co-host, Late Riser. How are you doing, buddy?
Where's Bakar is off?
Bakar had actually a very late withdrawal. He said he wanted to dedicate his entire day to going to Virat Kohli's Instagram, post GOAT on every single image. He's been spamming me since last year about how Kohli is better than Babar Azam. People need to show the faith in Virat Kohli. He's a truly great player. So much better than Babar Azam, Fakar Zaman and all that stuff. Since yesterday, it's just been Kohli fan mail just coming in non-stop from WhatsApp. I don't know. Bakar's such a Kohli fanboy.
So right now, what he's still stalking Kohli's Instagram? That's what he's up to right now?
He's typing Kohli greater than Babar on everyone.
Wow.
Dedication.
Dedication. Let's talk about the football. How was your weekend?
Decent weekend, 78 points with a captain blank.
Yes. Any takeaways from that? I think it's something we don't even need to talk about too much in terms of the blank. It's what an anomaly looks like. There are intricacies that we'll dive into when we're discussing the Liverpool game, but it's FPL, right? It's just what happens.
It just shows that there's so much luck involved in this game, and I like how Bucker's tweet brought a smile to my face. He compared this to the Havertz 7, and it's not the same, Bucker. It is not the same.
I won't lie. That tweet triggered me. I went back to saying, yeah, it was nice of you to, at that time not own the most highly captained. It's not the same because the EO wasn't split. You didn't suffer. And then I made a slightly snide record. That's why you don't support a club, because you don't know how to suffer. But let's leave that for another day.
I was going to make a very snide comment there, but I'll get killed for it next week, so I'm not going to say anything more.
Come on, do it, Zoff. I want to listen.
No. I'll do it probably after the next knockout game, because Bucker phone warned me. Be careful what you say today, because there's another match probably coming up next week. But I just wish I could be there, seeing the steam coming out of his ears from the intro we just did.
Fair.
So let's not much to talk about this week. I think everybody had a reasonably high average. We try to keep it short with a quick turnaround. I think let's jump into it. Let's talk about rotation, fixture congestion.
Sponsor plugs first, Zoff.
Obviously. Yeah. I'm not forgetting that. Let's go. DreamSetGo is India's first sports travel and experiences platform, offering a range of premium end-to-end authentic experiences across football, cricket, tennis, F1, rugby and golf, among others. From matchday hospitality to VIP stadium tours, from private meet and greets with athletes and legends to exclusive access to their training sessions, DreamSetGo curates the most fulfilling sports travel packages for fans like you. All data you see on the FPL Wire is taken from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. The new improved members area is now up and running, and the new comparison tool lets you compare key stats for up to 3 players. Player projections are also live, and as always, you can access the custom stats table we create or make one for yourself. Sign up for membership today using our affiliate link in the description below. Right. Let's start up first. Let's look at the rest period for different teams with the different turnouts. Because a lot of teams played on Sunday, they play on Wednesday, certain teams play Thursday also. So Scout did an article on this. They looked at the rest period. Now we're going to look at, I think there are probably 1, 2, 3 intervals we need to look at. Game week 4 to game week 5 midweek. Then there's also game week 5 to 6. That's the weekend. But I also want to look at the Champions League in context of that, because certain teams who play on Tuesday in the Champions League, it's different versus teams that play on the Wednesday. But first, let's start up looking at what's right in front of us, this immediate Tuesday turnaround. So I think let's pay more attention to the big 6 sides, because rotation, I don't think is as much of a concern for the sides outside that, right?
Yes, agreed.
So let's look at the guys who mostly everyone, I think, owns. Arsenal actually have a very nice period this entire thing. They have an 8-day turnaround, Saturday to Sunday. So I don't think in terms of Arsenal, there's much to worry.
They got 90, and we'll talk about them from a European perspective as well, because I think it's quite pertinent. Now, they've got a 90-hour rest period before Game Week 5 as well as Game Week 6. So I'm not necessarily worried about rotation. At max, if anything has to happen, maybe Eddie Nketiah gets a game in, if at all. But the fact that the managers have 5 subs, I think, which is quite an important factor. And managed minutes is more a likely scenario with them compared to maybe a rest for somebody. What I also like is Arsenal have a decent enough squad now, and I almost like that they're in the UCL and not in the Europa, because what I foresee is they'll play
Other way
sort of
around.
like a
They're in the
B team.
Europa, not in the UCL.
Yeah, so they're in the Europa and not the UCL, because what I foresee is they will play a clear B team, which might not be the case with teams in the Champions League. So, in terms of rotation, Arsenal out of the big 6 right now are the club I'm least worried about.
Completely agree there. We'll talk. I want to talk a bit about Arsenal in terms of the fixture shifts, taking money out of Ramsdale and stuff, but we'll leave that for a later part of the pod. Let's talk about the rotation aspect first. Chelsea's turnaround is a bit interesting. Tuchel just had his press conference a few hours ago. He spoke about Southampton's intensity. He spoke about how you need players who need to be very aggressive. He confirmed that Koulibaly is going to start, but the turnaround is quite short. We're talking about Saturday and Tuesday. But now what's interesting is the game against West Ham is originally scheduled for Sunday, but we play in the Champions League on Tuesday. So that's likely getting shifted around to the Saturday. So the turnaround for the second batch of matches is a little bit better. The short turnaround is right here. So I don't know if, like, he mentioned that James and Aspilicueta can't really play if he plays a back four again. And the issue now is, again, midfield. Now Gallagher suspended. He mentioned Kovacic is not necessarily ready to start matches. So I don't know what he's going to do. I think he might go with a back four again, but I don't think he'll bench James.
Yeah. Again, out of all the premium defenders, Trent and Reece are 2 players I'm just not worried about.
Even
in terms
Cancelo,
of
because I
the-
think 65th or 60 odd minutes he got subbed early also. So I think he also seems pretty safe there.
It was the first time he's subbed ever, and at that time I don't think they had won the game. So there's a lot more to break down when it comes to that sub from a strategic point of view compared to a
Rotation.
rest point of view, rotation point of view. So we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I don't think you need to worry too much about your defenders in this case. The Trent is it's not something to worry about, but Liverpool's turnaround for that second game in game week 6
Yes.
against Everton is something to worry about, because
It's an
they
early
only have
kickoff as well. That's not, you can't see that over here. It's a dreaded, like, Klopp hates the Wednesday and the 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. But the advantage is they don't actually have to leave Liverpool. They're playing Newcastle at home midweek and then the Everton, who's in the same city.
Exactly.
So there's no travel involved. That's a big benefit in that aspect.
Yeah, big benefit, but that's it. 60, 62 hours, Klopp is something against them. And we know Liverpool are big on sports science as we know it. So it's something we will talk about later. Just wanted to note this down for now.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not because, it's a derby, he won't rest players. Against Everton, we have seen it specifically in the past. He has rotated.
That he's rested. Exactly.
So I think we can talk about Liverpool, because I think in terms of Chelsea, Cucurella, because of the comments over there about the intensity, I think it's a bit unlikely. And I saw a little bit of a relationship developing there with Sterling. So
Yes.
I don't think this is the game to throw in Chilwell. Maybe the West Ham game appeals slightly more.
Yeah. And also, if Chilwell was getting maybe 10, 15 minutes, I'd be slightly more optimistic of something like that happening. But right now, there's no sign of anything happening. So until we see it, there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah. And our Champions League game also isn't that difficult. It's Dynamo Kiev. So the West Ham game definitely needs to be prioritized. And points-wise, we're not very comfortable. So I don't think we can expect to see much rotation in terms of Chelsea at this stage.
Correct. I think, and then there's Spurs, of course, the one other team that we're going to touch about. And everybody who wants to worry about Spurs is talking about Perisic. Do you think he starts the next game?
It's interesting because now Paul O'Keefe made a comment yesterday. He expects him to start, but let's look at the schedule now. The turnaround to West Ham is very short, and the turnaround to Fulham is just as short. It's a Saturday turnaround for Spurs, so things are tricky. You'd expect him to miss at least one game, and on paper, obviously, West Ham away is a more tougher fixture, right? I would guess him, like, play him West Ham, bench him against Fulham, and then play him in the Champions League. That's what I would do, but again, depends on sports science and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's again something that I would do as well. And
who do they play? I'm just having a look. They have a Wednesday game at least in the Champions League, which is a good thing. So effectively, the team that plays on Saturday against Fulham can play on the Wednesday as well, because they play Marseille and that's at home.
Correct. And I think, again, he'll want to keep Perisic for the City away game, which is the bigger tie. So,
and that's on a Saturday. Marseille and that thing is on a Saturday. So
yeah. Again, I wouldn't be worried about Perisic if I own him. And again, we have a cheat code in Paul O'Keefe. So follow what he says. I'm going to blindly follow what he says. At the moment, he's starting, and I'm expecting in my team, and I'm expecting that to be the case come deadline as well. Just monitor Twitter. That's all.
Let's talk a bit about what to do in that event. Now, let's say, look at both scenarios. If you see that Perisic is starting, like Paul predicts that, that's fine. If you don't get news, obviously you keep. But if you now he predicts a benching, you have Fulham on the weekend. What do you do? I don't think you sell. I think then you probably play Andreas or something.
Yeah, you play Andreas because Fulham are playing at home, and Fulham are playing at home are a different beast, even though they are playing Brighton. That's about it.
But what's interesting is now, let's say he starts the West Ham game and we expect him to be benched for Fulham. Then they play City in the
Yeah,
week
that's
after. Then you can sell Perisic.
that, that's then you can think about it, because the more the number of game weeks pass, the closer you are to wildcard. So you're not attached to players as much as you should, because maybe after City, when we're talking about City, that's what game week uh,
So,
7.
yes.
And then there's Leicester at home, maybe just one game, and then you're probably going to wildcard anyway. So, the closer we move to game week 8, game week 9, the lesser attached you are to your players. So, the more prone you are to taking some gambles. That's about it.
It's an interesting question I wanted to ask you. Now, what do we do in terms of the rotation that is coming now? Do we preempt rotation? Do we play these big guys and hope that they'll come on from the bench? If you know, for example, let's say a guy plays 2 games. If he play the 3 games A, B, C in a week, he plays A and B. Is he going to be benched in C? Do I risk benching him? Do I risk selling him? Because something Mark, I think he mentioned he was probably planning to do is bench Perisic in 1 week, play Mitrovic. That's why he's gone for a stronger bench. Is that a viable strategy in your head?
Yes, but I think it's very subjective. I don't think there's a thumb rule out here. Like when it comes to Spurs, I'm going to blindly follow Paul O'Keefe. At the moment, I'm feeling confident about starting him. Now, again, next week is a tougher. If he plays, in fact, I was sad that Perisic played 75 minutes and not 65 as much, and he was going to get subbed off
Ryan
in the
was right
65
there. I
minutes.
thought Ryan was
Yeah.
getting ready to come on around 10 minutes earlier.
And if that happened, and actually 10 minutes really shouldn't matter so much also, because Perisic wasn't flying up and down the wing as much. Because Neko and Brendan had him pinned back, there wasn't a lot of sprinting that he did also. And that is data that we are not clocking. Somebody raised this point in our Discord as well, which we'll talk about later when it comes to Manchester City and Haaland. But it's also about how much he's running as well in terms of, kilometers, etc. And that information we'll never get access to. So it's just an educated guess. Like I said, when it comes to rest and rotation, somebody like a Cancelo who's a fitness beast, I wouldn't worry about, because Pep has mentioned in the past that him and Sterling are the fittest when it comes to playing every 2 or 3 days. When it comes to somebody like a Trent, because of the lack of options that Liverpool have for that position, I'm comfortable. And if one game Trent is rested, you take it on the chin, as simple as that. So I think it's a case-to-case subjective basis. That's about it.
I think the likes of Trent, Cancelo, and James are very sticky. I think
Yeah.
these guys, even if you feel that they're going to be benched, even if you get team news, I think these 3 guys are sort of like, untouchable from your squad. They don't go anywhere.
Agreed. I don't think they're untouchable. I don't own Cancelo at the moment.
Oh, yeah,
so.
we'll talk about that. You move to Walker. Let's just cycle back to the teams you were talking about, Liverpool and Man City, because it's a bit more time we should pay to these guys. Like we said, the Newcastle game, the turnaround is quite good.
Yeah.
You'd expect and it's probably a tougher fixture also on paper. So you'd expect the likes of Robertson, etc., to play. The Everton game slightly trickier, where the front three they don't really have the players to rotate. But I think that's possibly a
They do.
Simicast game.
Darwin is starting against Everton. Because of that, I don't think Firmino has the legs to play game week 5
Yeah.
and 6. So that's why I'm very confident about a Darwin start in game week 6, which was also subconsciously in my mind when I went down from Cancelo to Walker, by the way. Like that's a factor as well. So
Liverpool play Wednesday also in the Champions League, so big turnaround there. It's the Everton game that's the trickiest one by far.
exactly. So I would worry about Simicast. I wouldn't worry about Diaz so much at the moment, because they are threadbare when it comes to squad strength. I wouldn't worry about Mo as well. I think Mo plays. That said, there is a factor in my head where Klopp believes in sports science. There is a 65-hour turnaround between game week 5 and game week 6. And everybody's talking about the fact that Haaland is probably going to have his minutes managed. If Liverpool are leading 2-0, 3-0, or by 2 goals, 65th, 70th minute against Newcastle, I don't think it's a fast stretch, because of the fact that Mo played 90 minutes in game week 4, that maybe 15, 20 minutes lesser. That's about it. This particular game.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about captaincy, but let's just have a look now at Man City's turnaround because this is quite important. Now, from Palace to Forest, the turnaround is quite generous in terms of hours. Let's just see what it's like. It's 98.5 hours. I think it's the second highest apart from the guys who play on Thursday.
Correct.
So it's a very generous turnaround, but in between game week 5 to 6 is a shorter one. You see, that's only
Correct.
68 hours to Villa, and then they play in the Champions League also, which is, I think, on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sevilla away. So, like the table, the Lego Money graphic here shows, Forest to Villa and Villa to Sevilla is a tricky one. But we should also mention they play Spurs after Sevilla.
After
But
that.
after that, but there's a full 3-day turnaround, and then Dortmund is on the Wednesday after.
Correct. So again, a decent enough time gap.
So, what do we
So
think
let's break
about
it down
Haaland?
now.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Cool. So you move to the results and then we'll go team by team. That's
No, but
because we just want to.
I think instead of talking about that, let's just talk captaincy now. I think that's
Okay,
pretty
cool.
much the biggest question. If the people don't have time to listen to the rest of the pod, we should dive into it right now. Let's start the first question. Do you think Haaland gets benched against Forest?
My answer has been changing every hour because I've been thinking about this a lot. But if I was a betting man, I think Haaland gets 60 versus Forest. I think Haaland gets 60 versus Villa or 30 versus Villa. And I think he starts the next two games. Like, there are a lot of arguments for and against this entire thing. And one interesting point that was raised in our Discord by Red Bulls, I want to give a shout out to him, was that the way City play and they, control the game and they have 60-70% of the position, Haaland isn't running around that much. If you see his touch box, etc., as well, he's occupying a very small space. It was a different case in Dortmund where they were a proper counter attack team. That isn't the case with Manchester City, where Haaland is occupying. He's not running that much. I actually would love to see if there's some data in terms of how many kilometers he's running. That said, the problem that he has is hamstrings. What his injury issue has been, and what he's doing a lot is still sprinting. Every time the ball is coming, he's sprinting, but they're short sprints. So how do you see this in working? And the thing is, you don't know what you don't know. And the problem right now is the lack of information and trends. But I think our worry, while it exists, might be a little overstated. That's about it. That said, currently my captaincy is on Mo Salah. Because I know for a fact that Mo Salah is right now going to play more minutes than Haaland. But it just feels wrong not captaining Haaland against Forest at home.
Completely agree.
That's
completely agree. It's about how much a Pep thinks that Villa is it. Because if you ask me, Forest at home is definitely an easier fixture, irrespective of how poor Villa are. Because Villa, if you remember, they gave them a game last season as well. It wasn't an easy game for them. I think, remember, conceded Bernardo scored that wonder goal. So, and what I think is also important to note is Forest turnaround over here. Now, Forest have a 6-day turnaround. They played Spurs on Sunday. They're going to play City on Wednesday. And the big game for them is Bournemouth at home. And we've seen now managers in the past, Dowie, Holloway, when they have this sort of turnaround and they have a more winnable game at the weekend, they often prioritize that fixture instead of the away game to the big six. So we could see rotation here for Forest as well.
Correct. And that could mean good things for City. It's not that they need a different kind of a team to feel exactly. That's it. It's just Haaland. The other factor also. Let's not come to the conclusions and decisions yet, because I think when it comes to both of us, neither of us are 100% set on captaincy at the moment. There's a lot of information to absorb, but what we can do is lay down the factors. The one thing that is important in the Newcastle game, two things. You and me were talking about it this morning, is knowing how Mo Salah works, knowing his personality, knowing how greedy he is. Like the fact that he missed two big chances and the fact that he didn't have a goal or assist in that 9-0, he's absolutely fully aware of that.
In India, we say "Gaand mein khujli." There's definitely
that's like definitely he's gonna be like, okay, this happened. This ain't gonna happen again. Also, it's the same reason why I captained Haaland against Newcastle and made the bet against Mo when he played United. Is that Eddie Howe? I went back to previous results. Eddie Howe likes to go head for head against these big teams. He doesn't like to sit back and have a low block. He likes to fight. He likes to have an expansive game. The fact that Shelby isn't fit, the fact that Eddie Howe said that Bruno Gomes probably isn't going to be fit for the Liverpool game, the fact that ASM could be injured, the fact that Wilson is injured, There are two factors that could result to this. How is aware of the people that he has in his team and could just say, you know what, let's set up a low block because that's what we're going to do in this game. Or if he just goes toe for toe and then the game's much more open and then it's great points for Mo Salah. So these are the factors. There's also a different factor in my head in terms of how Mo Salah's role has changed. We were discussing this morning as well. And when we're watching Liverpool play, what's happening is everything that they're creating is coming from that right hand side where Salah and Trent are. Like, why is this happening? Because Robertson's role has fully changed. Robertson isn't creating from that left hand side at all. His role is to become a body in the box when the ball is getting crossed from either side. What is Diaz's role? Diaz isn't very creative as a
Not at
player. What he's
all.
doing, he's a ball carrier. He's cutting in, maybe passing it to the other side, switching play, or taking a shot from far. The moment he's switching the play to the other side, again, his role becomes to become a body in the box. So, because Trent and Salah are going to create something from that side. So, what are Salah's outlets to goals? Penalties, by the way, huge. That's 5 free goals a season. The give and go that he does with these players, because he's Salah, he's one of the best players in the league, if not the best player in the league, and he's that fucking good that he's able to get inside the box or the counter. Like, these are three outlets. So I'm just stating this, and it's something I'm watching closely and monitoring. I think, and the fact that Haaland is raising his hand up as somebody to finally challenge Salah for the title of FPL King, you know. So these are the factors playing in my head. That said, 80, 85 minutes. I think if it's an expansive game, the counter opportunities will also be there for Salah. At the moment, that's why I'm on Salah.
Yep. I think in Haaland, if he starts also, they go 2-0, 3 up, it's 50, 60. I think even if he starts, we're not likely to see as many minutes. But again,
Correct.
I think 60 minutes of Haaland is probably better than 90 minutes of Salah this week.
Yeah, probably.
Does it come down to risk appetite, you think? I think Haaland is the riskier pick. Can we say that?
Not if you're playing EO. I'm convinced in my head Haaland is going to have way
100%.
more.
I was surprised by
than-
Salah's EO this weekend. It was only like 120, 113 or something. I expected it to be like, it's home to Bournemouth. I expected it to be astronomical.
Yeah. And it's changing, right? Because Gabriel Jesus is doing good things. It's because Haaland is putting his hand up. So it's not like we were, they lightly mentioned on the above average pod. We are not betting against 180% EO Salah anymore. It's about 25% EO if you're not captaining him that you're betting against. So the damage that is done isn't that great. In fact, if Haaland starts and he hat tricks, because he's a walking hat trick if he's starting a game, the damage is potentially higher as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. That said it. And again, we normally talk about how Salah gets a lot of the goals in the last 20, 25 minutes. I don't know if he's going to get the last 20 minutes in this game because he played 90 and because it's 62 hours to the Everton game.
That's a good point as well. I think they get the 2-0, 3-0 up. So Salah probably gets an early sub then too.
Yeah. Because him and Diaz played 90 in the first game. So these are the factors in my head. And I don't have a decision. At the moment, I'm Mo Salah, but I'm dilly-dallying. I think all of us are like going to be watching Pep's presser like a hawk and overthink what he's saying, every word that he's saying, and then make a decision. But that's where we are. Any other factors that we should discuss in this?
Nothing really. It's a tukka. It's either way. I mean, you don't really know which way what's going to go. And I'm happy that this is a little bit of a decision for people to make. It seems that there have been no decisions of late for us in FPL.
Correct. At the moment, the reason we are on Salah is expected minutes. That's about it, right?
Minutes. And I do like the fact that he did not get anything. A hungry Salah sort of appeals to me a little bit.
It does to me as well. And again, I hope ASM is fit, because if ASM is fit, then it's an expansive game. Then I'm even more confident about Salah getting something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like what did my head is that Hoberg is not a very good midfielder. And Spurs got very little possession in that game against
Frankie
Forest.
One second.
Sure.
Keep going.
Oh my god. Just want to see what the chat is saying. But yeah, what I was talking about is that Hoberg is not the best creative midfielder. And he was cutting apart Forest at will. That's it. Forest are much more aggressive and front foot in terms of attack in that in their home games. But they're getting cut apart at will. It's been 4 games now. They're at the bottom 3 for XG against as well. So, like, would you be surprised if City put 6-7 past them? I wouldn't be surprised
Ceiling
at all.
ceiling definitely feels higher at City.
Feeling definitely feels hard. Sure. That's all. I mean, and we're talking about a Newcastle team that have been top 6-7 for XGA for the last in 2022.
That being said, in terms of big chances conceded, they've conceded only one fewer than Leicester.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's Man
again,
City. That's Man City, though. That's a Man City game. Anytime you play Man City, your big chances stats always get a bit distorted.
Correct. Correct. Cool. I think we've had the captaincy debate without offering any conclusion at all. At the moment, both of us are on Salah for expected minutes,
Yes.
but won't be surprised if one or both of us change our mind by the end of the deadline.
I think the summary, if you want to save guys in terms of minutes, you don't want to worry about the team sheet. I think it's Salah. But Haaland, again, could do damage. That's
Gabriel Jesus under consideration at all. There is a fair few captaining Jesus in our Discord as well, because it's Aston Villa at home. Aston Villa haven't done really well. Arsenal are still a very attacking team, but I just think in terms of level of a player and team, I just think the top two are the top two, and that's where I want to give them that respect.
I agree with that. And I think Jesus' numbers have been strange. I think he's got 10 or 11 shots in the box, but only 3 on target. Just, I don't feel as comfortable. I don't know if he's on penalties. Both the other guys on pens and stuff. Doesn't appeal to me as much. I guess you could look at Kane. If you have Kane, I don't think he's a bad shout at away to West Ham, who are not in good shape.
That's it. I'd still captain Salah over Kane.
I'd agree.
I think if you're going against Salah, you go Haaland. That's
about it. It's cool.
Or KDB. I don't mind the KDB shout this week.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's give a shout out to Hector. He made a point about how teams are now attacking a lot more. About your Brightons, Newcastle, Brentford, Leeds, and Fulham. We've had a lot of good discussions on this in our Discord, and Baker shared a stat for this on his pod this morning. So you see over here, we can quantify this information now in terms of the XG for all the teams from the mid half of the table. It's all up above 6. You see, there were only about 6 teams that were up 6 last year. You have like about 10 teams. So teams are going for it a lot more.
Yeah, I know. Much rather try winning the 3 points than... Because it's obvious if you're going to see what happened to Bournemouth. If you're going to try to... Except for Moyes, I don't think anybody else can pull off even something close to a low block in this league. It's pretty much giving up 3 points if you're going to say that I'm going to sit back and defend against the good teams. You're not giving yourself a chance. And people are like, you know what? Okay, if you'll get battered, we get battered, but we're giving it a go. I don't think you can draw any FPL conclusions from this at the moment because this affects the mid-level clubs as much as it affects the top-level clubs, in my opinion. I do think you can balance things out. That said, the fullbacks from the top-level clubs are still way more attacking the fullbacks from the mid-level clubs. So that's about it. That's about it. But I just don't think you need to be worried about like where we're expecting City and Chelsea to get and Liverpool to get 20 to 23, 24 clean sheets every season. I think that number goes down by 3-4 maybe. I think especially in a condensed season, a condensed season like this, because that will come into play once. It's not something we need to talk about, but we can just address it. I think that will come into play once the pile-up load increases, where a lot of these teams who are mid-level are playing once a week, and these guys are playing a lot more. It's also nature of law that a lot more players from the top teams will go deeper in the World Cup as well. So there will be tiredness accumulated there as well. But that's something we don't need to talk about right now. Cross that bridge once we get there.
But looking at these numbers is a topic that, again, a lot of people in our Discord were touting. It's about moving money out of defense. It's something you did this week. You downgraded Cancelo to Walker to upgrade Bailey to Rashford, right? What was your thinking there? Because a lot of people are stuck with this problem. You have your Baileys and your Netos to upgrade to a Gross or a Rodrigo. The only place you can downgrade is in your defense.
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of self-contemplation, etc. as well, and there's a lot of the factor in terms of this game being about joy, and points give you joy. I don't want to sort of admit that, playing template, etc. as well. But there are very few opportunities that exist now, and you're trying, we're competitive FPL players here, and we're trying to get an edge on everybody else. And I'm trying to move the needle without trying too much, and also because the confidence is building in terms of what I'm seeing. So in my head, what I'm seeing is Cancelo isn't the same player he was last season. He simply isn't the same player. That said, the worry in your head is, have you seen enough? 3 game weeks, is it enough data? 4 game weeks, is it enough data? And I was forward planning and thinking of transfers I want to make. And I wanted, if I was like, there's any way I want to get Darwin in my team, I need more funds from my defense. And Cancelo was the one cash cow. I am still seeing the same things in terms of attacking potential from Trent. I'm seeing way more things in terms of attacking potential from Reece James, but I'm not seeing the same Cancelo. And if it was me playing 5 years ago when I wasn't a content creator, I would have made the move without hesitation because I'm acting based on what I'm seeing. And that's exactly what I did. I was like, what will hurt me the least potentially if I'm taking a gamble because I want to put funds in attack and Cancelo to a decent defender. I don't think the mistake I think I made in my head was that I got in Walker because Walker doesn't offer any attacking potential at all. And I like you, I like having my defenders having attacking potential, but I'll sit with it until the wild card. There's nothing else I can do about it, unless Paul O'Keefe is telling you Doherty is starting. I mean, that's something that could maybe change my perception. But yeah, man, something worth noting. I'm obviously very, very scared because Cancelo's next game reads NFO at home. But what we've seen so far is he's his volume isn't as high in terms of involvement in the final third, in terms of chances created, etc., as it was last season.
I completely agree. He's taken with 3 shots and 3 chances created, which isn't even the top 10 in either metric for defenders so far in the first 4 game weeks. And it's visible, like you said, you didn't own Cancelo, and it wasn't a nervous watch. Last season, you'd be shitting yourself without it.
Shitting myself. And I saw the full City game, and I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel threatened at any point. So that's we need to understand that City are now playing a completely new way, and everything that is happening is getting funneled through to Haaland. That's how they're playing. So yeah, obviously I'll still be shitting myself when Cancelo is playing NFO at home, but you make the bets you make. And
but in general, let's talk about just taking the money out of defense. Where do you go? Do you think you downgrade a Robert? Do you think you downgrade a Ramsdale to a Sanchez? Because like we talked about, probably your Trent and James at least are not like somewhere you would look to downgrade. Do you think the Cancelo to Walker, Cancelo to Dunk is possibly something to look to fund?
Yes. I think now that you've not done it, I also did it because I feel like I fancied Palace to do it. So if I'm like, I'm going to downgrade Cancelo, I'm not going to do it when the next fixture reads NFO at home. I'd much rather take my chances and gamble against a Palace who are a lot more likely to cancel that City clean sheet, and it isn't as threatening a fixture without owning Cancelo. Now that you're sitting NFO, you do that maybe after next game week, not right now.
Yeah, the fixtures are Forest, Villa, Tottenham, and Wolves away. So you do see 3 clean sheets at least, keeping the Spurs game aside.
Yeah.
In that, I want to talk about Arsenal a bit because a lot of Ramsdale owners, I'm not as worried about it, but a lot of people seem to be that the fact that he's not getting saves, Arsenal have conceded the fewer shots on target in the league, which I actually appreciate. It indicates their defense is getting good. Now that you have Villa at home, United away, Everton at home, Brentford away, 2 clean sheets there seems reasonable.
Yeah, my entire position on this point of view is that if you're burning your transfer and you foresee needing funds in the future in attack, then maybe make a downgrade. If you can save a transfer, save a transfer. I wouldn't make the transfer proactively. That's about it.
Because the only person I would be willing to go down to Ramsdale is obviously Sanchez. And I don't like the fixture this week, or even to be honest, the fixture next week, because Leicester are the 1-1 team we talk about. And there's an interesting point that Baker made about a roulette, right? Now, when you flip a coin, 4 times it comes up heads, you think the 5th one won't come up tails. But the fact is that the 5th outcome is independent of the first 4. But at the same time, you look at the probability of it being 5 heads. As a standalone thing is quite low. So it's a bit of a balancing act in that sense. Have Brighton ridden their luck? No. They're obviously a good defense, but is shit going to happen? Abnormal stuff does happen.
Yeah, I know, but I think we need to acknowledge the fact because I mentioned on the last pod that I think Brighton are now capable of breaking into the top 8, top 7, top 6 because it's year 4 of Potter. And I think they're showing that. Like, it was in Gromit's chart that we did in the defense and midfield pod, that youth spike, they've continued from where they left end of last season. They're a much more superior team now, and we need to acknowledge that.
That's fair. But that being said, I do think I sort of get a miss the boat feeling. Fulham, Leicester, even Bournemouth is away. It's not at home, but you could bank a clean sheet. Their Palace is their derby.
I don't think it's a transfer you make proactively.
I
because
mean,
there are bigger,
even this
better
week,
horse to chase.
I would much rather have Ramsdale this week than Sanchez. So I think even if you get the money later, I just don't like that move this week.
Yeah, I know this. If you're spending transfers this week, get a City attacker. Literally, that my position won't change there because if
Gundogan?
somebody like a Gundogan can easily brace Zoff.
Let's
He's
talk
been
about
the
that. Let's just jump quickly to the fixture. I don't think we need to talk much about results. Let's talk more about the fixtures that are coming. Who are the short-term punts for this week you like?
move to the fixture ticker because I think that gives a proper indication in terms of there are certain
Yes,
players
yeah.
who are available for a short term time. Uh, I think there are 2 or 3 teams that I'm eyeing up. Firstly, Leeds United. Like getting a run of 3 fixtures, which says Everton at home, Brentford away, and Forest at home, is just a good run of 3 games. And if you're looking at Rodrigo, if you're looking at Adamson, I have nothing against these punts in that price bracket. So if you're looking for, if it depends on how stable your team is in terms, it depends on how you're predicting your future moves. Because I'm doing a fair amount of forward planning when I'm trying to get in players, but Leeds is a team you do. If you're bringing in a City player, in my opinion, Gundogan is a 1 week punt. Somebody I'm happy holding throughout later, but you're not never going to be comfortable with his expected minutes. But am I expecting him to start the Forest game? Yes. If I was punting on a Forest attack on a City attacker for that Forest game, the 3 mid-price assets. Let's not talk about KDB because it's a separate conversation. But Alvarez, Foden, and Gundogan are the 3 people I'd probably look at if I wanted to just have some fun for a week. And Gundogan is the one I'd do.
Completely agree. The fact that he was benched
Yeah.
last week is very good. And I think he possibly starts Villa as well.
Yeah.
So I think
So if you're looking at and it's got a very high ceiling because Gundogan, we've seen it so far. Haaland is good for him because Haaland is occupying the 2 CBs and that's leaving space for him as the runner behind.
in terms of other short-term punts, I think maybe Doherty, if we get some sort of inkling that he's possibly going to start.
Yeah. Wolves have Bournemouth away and Southampton at home, which is also decent in my opinion. One team I do want to talk about from a short-term point of view and a team that caught my eye, actually a player that caught my eye, is if somebody's looking to downgrade assets after this week, Forest have a run of good 3 fixtures. Bournemouth at home, Leeds away, and Fulham at home. Yeah. Now I think Neco Williams, if you own him, he's very, very playable in both the home games.
I think
And
all 3
especially
is all 3 because what I'm actually planning it after this week, if especially Perisic plays, I'll probably do something like Perisic to Neco and like one of my midfielders up to Gross, because Gross's fixture, and again you have Leicester, Brighton, Bournemouth, Palace. It's quite good.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and another player that I want to talk about in that Forest team is Morgan Gibbs White, 5.5 million asset. He's playing instead of Taiwo in that front 2. The only problem is, do you think Taiwo eats into his minutes a little? I don't think so because
he'll play probably in different positions. They paid a lot of money for him, and he looked good. He was probably the standout player.
Set pieces, he's on set pieces. He's taken set pieces of Neco, which is something to note as well. He had 2 shots and 2 chances created. So he's somebody I'm looking at. If somebody is looking for a cheap punt, a lot of people are trying to look out for cheap assets to facilitate other things. So yeah, that's somewhere I'm looking at as well.
Let's just do a quick stats dive. We'll just cover for a few minutes.
Before we move into it, I want to talk about it. But all said and done, there is a fixture proof 6.5 to 7 million asset that you don't need to worry about whether you're looking at fixtures or not. And
Please
that's the
don't
guy
say
you
Rashford.
called out. No.
Okay.
No, he's the guy you called out pre-game week 1, and that's Mitrovic.
Agree. Thank God you didn't say Rashford.
No, I don't think you need to look at fixtures when it comes to Fulham because Metro's just doing Metro things. He's gone up a level. Like, if I'm talking about a glue guy who's 6.5 to 7 million that can stick in my team and I don't need to think about removing him from a while, he's the guy. Like, he is the guy. Everybody else has a few question marks around them, a little bit dodgy, etc. And you want to safeguard that position based on how you want to move around the players. And Metro's the guy.
I don't know how he didn't score more in the championship. I know he broke the record, but you look at him, what he is doing to Premier League defenses. I'm surprised he didn't score 50, 60 in the championship. 14 shots or something. It's ridiculous. Everything in the... against Arsenal, Ramsdale made a great save off his corner. He would have had a brace in that game as well.
Yeah, and Silva's doing Silva things. He's not sitting back. He's one of... Silva the attackers, we're talking about Vieira, when you're talking about Zaha, etc. Even if these attackers have slightly difficult fixtures on paper, I fancy playing their attackers because they're decent on the counter.
Completely agree. And they go for it.
Yeah, they go for it.
Right. Quick stats review. Bottom of XG non-conceded penalty, Bournemouth and Fulham. Chelsea are all the way in third. I think that had to do with playing with 10 men against Leicester and conceding a 0.99 XG chance to Aronson earlier on.
Yeah.
But I think we will get better for Fana is coming around. West Ham's actually defensive numbers aren't that bad in terms of XG non-penalty. Brighton are obviously pretty solid. Arsenal are very good. In terms of attack, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City all the way on top. Brentford, what I've noticed, like I think Baker mentioned as a pod, they're going for it. In terms of defensively, they've slouched quite a bit, but they're much more attacking side, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
So we possibly need to calibrate our thinking about Brentford being a good defense. I don't really like Raya as a pick, much to be honest.
And that's why that run as well for Leeds United, because it reads Everton, Brentford, and F4. If you saw Brentford away earlier, you'd be slightly worried. I think Brentford away is a decent fixture now.
Who do you like right now still if I have to pick one of Gross or Rodrigo?
Rodrigo.
Still, right?
Still Rodrigo.
Fixture slightly better for Brighton, but Rodrigo, I think, is a much more direct player there.
Yeah. And just Brighton isn't a good fixture for Leeds. I think the next three are.
Fair enough.
As simple as that.
Anything else? We've already close to 40 minutes. Maybe we can just discuss the teams and do a quick Q&A.
Just let's look at the fixtures and see if anything stands out. Just talking points about each of them.
I'm just looking back at the results from last weekend in terms of Southampton United. Quick takeaway?
I don't really have anything to say. We might be getting better in defense, but nothing to take away right now.
I think Southampton easily could have scored. I love that 4-block sequence. That was one of my best moments of the season. So that was brilliant.
One takeaway is if Ronaldo is leaving the club in the next 3 days, I think 2.5 premium might be the right structure to have in the future, whether that's with Darwin. Sterling's put his hand up, and I think Bruno might come into play if he's got penalties.
That's fair.
Because he's playing that ancillary striker role. He's occupying the central spots that he did in his first season now.
We discussed Brentford, we discussed a lot of Brighton. Chelsea also, I think we were very lucky to get the win. And like you said, Sterling is looking good. I think if you held Mount for this long, I would lose patience. You have to get him go now.
Get rid. Cut your losses.
Cut your losses now. Liverpool again, we discussed. I don't think there's much else.
I just want to say about Liverpool, I think a few people are, because of the results that have happened in the last 2 or 3 game weeks, are going to be attached to Ruben Diaz. And I think he isn't going to be as good an asset once Darwin comes into play.
Luis Diaz.
Yeah.
You said Ruben.
About Liverpool.
Okay.
Luis Diaz. So I think that's something to monitor because he's not getting headed goals when Darwin's in the team, in my opinion.
That was absolutely the trigger for me. Remember that I think a couple of pods ago, and I said that you have to change to Diaz because of the Darwin thing. Because Darwin just sucks everything otherwise. Everything goes towards Darwin.
Yep, that's about it.
So I'm looking to move Diaz on possibly in a couple of weeks. I might even go for a Rodrigo or somebody more short-termish at that point. We've done already captaincy. Any clean sheet bankers? I think City is a clean sheet banker this week. Probably Liverpool I like. Arsenal, not really others. Chelsea I think could struggle a bit to keep a clean sheet. Cool.
I mean, you start the players you're starting. That's about it.
I think that's what we discuss in terms of rotation. We also need to see the patterns. Yeah. What's going to happen? I think let's use these 2 weeks as a learning period from the pattern rather than try to sell perfectly good players because you think they might be getting rotated.
Agreed. Right. I just want to, because you're big on Salah and you're the kind of FPL player you are. Is the needle moving for you at all? Not yet.
I think I'm going to wait to see what Pep's presser says. I'm going to see what the predictors say.
No, not in terms of captaincy. I'm talking about, are you so far married to Mo Salah as a premium for the season?
Absolutely still. Because in terms of big chances, I think he's second only to Zaha amongst midfielders. So he's still getting those big chances. He now has the creative aspect. It depends on Darwin.
It depends on Darwin, right? So you are open to the idea, right? Because it takes a lot for somebody like you to be open to the idea of Because I think there are a few factors that are
I
adding up
wouldn't say
slowly.
I'm
I'm not saying.
open. I'm open to being open. Can we say that?
Um,
That's
yeah,
where I
fair
am.
enough.
That's where I am right
That's it.
now.
Yeah, because there are a few factors that are adding up, and Haaland putting his hand up as the alternate captaincy option, etc. as well, Darwin factor as well, Mo's role. A few factors are adding up.
It's all a learning period.
Yeah,
What
agreed.
I see myself post IBA might be captaining Mitrovic more so than any other player. That wouldn't surprise me with
Wow.
this X minutes.
Fair.
Let's just
Fair.
see. Quick rundown of our teams. I've got Ramsdale in goal, Trent, Cancelo, Cucurella, James, Perisic in defense, Diaz, Martinelli, Salah cap, Haaland, and Jesus. 2 free transfers. What would you suggest?
Who do you have? There's a cash cow, and the thing is, you can't displace anybody from that attack at all.
Absolutely not.
If you were doing something, I'd free up funds from defense if you want to plan for Darwin and punt on a City attacker. And there is only one way to free up funds from that defense.
It's only
But
Cancelo.
yeah, and are you going to do that before NFO? I don't know.
I'm not going to do it. And again, the other option would be Ramsdale to Sanchez. Again, that seems like a move that is going to lose me points this week.
Yep.
So what
Is
I'm
there
actually
any-
thinking is probably Reed either down to a 4.4 mid or Ward down to Iverson to just keep that 0.1 handy, which I might need to possibly do Cucurella to Trippier or like gross money, Rodrigo money, something like that. Of the two, what do you prefer? Ward down to Iverson or Reed to a 4.4 mid? And keep in mind, this is thrilling FPL conversation.
No. I couldn't care less about what I'm still thinking about. Like it doesn't sit right with me that we're discussing these transfers when there are potential opportunities when you have two City players and City are playing NFO at home. Like I'd roll the dice is what I would do. I would get the third City attacker in is what I would do. I would figure out a way. I'd bite the bullet. I'd act on what I'm seeing rather than wait to gauge information because I have a
Yeah.
wild card in 3 weeks anyway. That's what I'd do.
Yeah. I really don't.
Yeah.
I'll probably do one of those moves. I think I'm more inclined towards doing Reed out to a 4.4 mid. Probably I think Murphy
enough.
is getting some minutes, but then I might be selling Reed again next week. So it's literally just burning a transfer right there. Abdul still hasn't made a transfer. I think it's game week 5. He's not planning to make any transfers this week as well.
I don't know how to do it.
I mean, people are complaining about that, but the fact is players haven't been getting injured. I think normally what happens is some injury or something that crops up. That hasn't really happened, and we've been quite fortunate in that sense.
It's just not the kind of game I play. That's all. I can't relate to that. I can't empathize with that. I can't understand that.
Yeah. But like Danny said, right, it's better not to make any moves than make suboptimal moves.
I just think you're not being opportunistic enough. That's all.
That's possible.
Just because the dice has fallen a certain number in the last 3 game weeks doesn't mean it continues to fall on that number in the next 3 game weeks. That's
Definitely
about
not.
it.
But you have
Yeah.
you have good dice. You don't need to like necessarily throw them away. That's the point also.
Yeah.
Your team?
I have Ramsdale, Trent, James, Perisic, Walker, Salah, Diaz, Martinelli, Rashford, Haaland, and Jesus. Andreas first up, I'm likely to save and then make a couple of moves, looking to get Darwin in the next game week. That's where my thoughts are at the moment. I would love to punt on Gundogan or a City attacker. The stupid move that I can think of is that Rashford to Aronson, and I can do Archer to Alvarez, but it's all too much of
Alvarez
a long
again is
shot
punty.
thing.
Alvarez is too punty. If you
Very,
go
very
Gundo,
punty.
if you do again, Rashford is a good fixture this week, right? Leicester is
Exactly.
not the fixture you want to move out.
Highest number
Rashford
of big
for.
chances considered this season. So yeah, that's where I am and prepping for Darwin. But that said, my head is working in a weird way because what happens is we pot pretty early in the week as well, and then the next 3 or 4 days I'm thinking opportunity. What to do,
Only
what
one
to do,
day
what to do.
this time. Let's do a quick round of questions.
Done.
There might be some topics that we missed out. Please send in your questions, guys.
Yeah.
Smooth tech today. No issues.
Yeah, smooth tech. Yeah.
I think the audio will also be
who-
better. We're using a different software today.
Yeah. Also, guys, while you guys are here, there's 1,200 of you. Just make sure you're hitting on the like button because there's only 175 likes and there are 1,200 of you watching. So it'd be nice if you could just press that like button. It helps us out. And if you want to join us on the Discord, we've been having a great amount of discussion with the guys. And there's some great guys in there, apart from just us, some really good people on the Discord. You can become a member on YouTube or go to patreon.com/the FPL Wire and support us. What to do with Robo? Sof?
Keep this week.
Yeah, keep this week. But there will be one benching that comes. Take it on the chin.
Take it on the chin, or that's your cash cow.
That's your cash cow. Karan is asking 2 free transfers. Don't want to burn Diaz to Gundo as a punt or Gross to Rodrigo long term.
Gross to Rodrigo long term. Diaz could outscore Gundigo.
Yeah. I don't mind it as a punt though. I won't lie. I don't mind it as a 1 week punt. Especially if you're lining up for Darwin in the future. I don't mind it as a punt. Adil is asking, hi, Captain Gundo or Rashford? Captain Salah or Haaland is the right answer.
Out of the two, probably Gundo.
Yeah. Yeah, don't Captain Rashford. Rashford was terrible, especially if Tony is unfit. Shouldn't ever play striker for United again. Nehal sent in a super chat, 2 free transfers, thinking of Robbo to Saliba and KDH to Gundogan. I don't mind it. What do you think? I don't mind it.
I don't mind it.
I like it. That's creative FPL. I'm all for it. Kamzi, the first half an hour was on Captain Salah or Haaland. We discussed that at length. Never gave a conclusion, but discussed all the factors.
Let's talk about Neto. I think quite a few people have him. Move on.
Yeah, I mean, Leeds is there, waiting.
The fixtures are good though. I think it's what they play Bournemouth this week, no?
Yes. I'd still move on to a Leeds asset.
Yeah, but again, I think you have to take out money from your defense again to do that. It's a significant upgrade now. It's, I think what Rodrigo is almost 6.5, Neto is 1.3, 5.3, so 1.2 is a significant amount to take out. But then I don't even know if he'll start with Neto.
I think he'll start. I think he should start. Then bite the bullet this week and then move on to Gibbs White, who's in the similar price range.
That's the thing, right? Just because it's Bournemouth. Any other fixture, you still move on.
I still don't mind Aronson as a pick as well.
Yeah.
I think he'll be involved. He's further forward. He's playing as a 10 in that team. I don't mind Aronson either. And I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's the best player in that front four, IRL. So I don't think he's going anywhere as well. So I don't mind Aronson either.
Yeah.
Kulu to Rodrigo this game week. Save fund for next game week. What do you think about Kulu to Rodrigo this game week?
That's an interesting one because you have again West Ham. Kulu didn't offer much of goals, right? But he was always about the assisting. I guess if you have some use for the money, I like that because it frees up quite a bit of fund. I think almost 1.5 you free up. So I do like that.
Zaha to Gundo?
Yes, because Zaha, I think there's some things happening in terms of transfers, injury and all that stuff. Until the transfer window closes, I would stay clear of Zaha.
And it's a good upside one. Zaha does have Brentford at home, though. It's a good fixture.
I think he's still not confirmed fit. He's still a doubt as of now. So we do get early team news on Paris. I don't know whether they're before the deadline or like are they on Tuesday? I'm not sure. If you don't Tuesday, follow Focal. Focal gets team news.
Ishapul Sagu is asking, he screwed up and got rid of Trent. Reverse ASAP for -4?
Yes.
Yes, I agree. Is the Rule example?
You correct the pin. You correct it.
Yes,
Once you make a mistake, you correct the mistake. That's it.
Exactly. That said, I just want to talk about one 4.5 million defender that I really, really want to closely follow. And now Brighton have a wing back. Actually, that's something worth talking about because Trossard is pushed further up the pitch because what's his name? He created 3 chances. Estupinan.
I think something.
Yeah, and he did pretty well. He created 3 chances. If you're getting a 4.5 million nailed Brighton wing back, I think that's somebody you need to add to your watch list very, very quickly and might be a proper asset in the future because we know what they're capable of defensively.
That's fair. Let's do a couple more, then we'll wrap up.
Lux is asking if you have a Discord server. Yes, just mentioned you can go to Patreon to support us or become a YouTube member and you'll be linked.
There's somebody asking about Bailey. I think there's nothing even worth talking about there. You get rid.
Sell. That's about it. You want me to upgrade my webcam? My webcam is the same as yours.
Yeah, but mine is on the direct feed, right? Yours is coming through the
through. Yeah,
that's probably why.
Why is nobody punting on Bernardo Silva and concentrating on Gundo? Because Bernardo Silva isn't as good an FPL asset as Gundogan. It's very simple.
Please don't send any more super chats, guys. We'll wrap up after this last one. Moved Haaland for Kane. Reverse for -4. This is interesting.
Never. Don't. I'm still as bullish on keeping Haaland through. He's
No, he's already got Kane. So should he go back to Haaland or not? Is he asking?
yes,
Get Haaland in,
go
right?
back, go back. If he starts, you're betting against 150% EO. He's a walking hat trick when he starts. He's a walking brace when he subs on.
Even off the bench, he's got such potential. He's just scary player to not own.
Don't go without Erling Haaland. Just very, very sure about that.
Agree.
Cool. We'll wrap up now, Zoff.
Let's wrap up, guys. Good stream today. Thank you for joining us. We'll put this out on audio very soon. Hit the like and subscribe.
And also, if you like our work and if you guys are on Twitter, just spread the word because we like getting.
You want to do a FCA, the Football Content Award plug?
It's a nomination. I think we should be nominated. So we'll do the promotion when the actual awards are in. That's
cool. All right, guys. See you next week.